And here's a video of me making some functional art. I'm going to be using a half-inch medium wall tubing to start and applying some cobalt blue to it. I pulled these stringers to about 1.5 to 2 millimeter thickness. Right now that's about the thickness that I like to work with. As you can see, I'm still working on pulling stringers. They're not all perfect, but painting on or layering the color like this is something that I'm getting really used to doing, and I'm getting much more comfortable with it. I've probably spent now 50 hours on the torch, and finally I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with the way that the glass reacts under the heat. Watching these videos also helps me out a lot because I cannot always see what I'm doing from underneath or through the flame because the flame does sort of obstruct your view a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm just going to be layering down a lot of cobalt blue and dark cobalt blue along this half-inch tubing. That's going to give it a color to it as well as begin to thicken the glass a little bit so I can blow it out and start to shape the glass a little bit as opposed to just decorating it. If you blow the glass out and it's too thin, you're going to have problems when you start to try to maneuver the glass, pushing indents or opening holes. So that's one reason you want to make sure that you have a proper thickness to it. Also, for the future potential customer, it has to last, so it has to be able to withstand at least a mild drop. In total, layering the color took about 10 minutes for me to do. I'm hoping that in the future I can sort of get that down to 5 minutes. And once I'm finished layering the color down, the next step is burning or melting the color down and smoothing it out. This is something that I've had to work really hard at because quite often um, you think you're overheating the glass. And the first rule in lampworking is if you think it's hot enough, it's not. So with this piece of art here, finally I feel like I've gotten the heat down pretty good. This piece had a few areas that could have been heated just a little bit more, but overall I was quite happy with it. So I'm just about finished layering the blue down on this piece of art. And then after that, after the meltdown, which takes quite a while, one reason people like bigger torches, this is a very small torch, and it is not extremely hot. So as you can see here, it just takes a long time to twist it and melt it. Overall, this entire piece took me about 45 minutes to an hour to completely finish, and I must say that my arm is getting a little bit tired after twisting it for so long in the heat. But that's just the way it goes. So eventually I'll get a new torch that is a little bit hotter, and I can quicken this stage of the process up a little. But for now, patience is a virtue. So we're just going to go ahead and let it melt. As you can see, every now and then I'll just marver it down just to make sure that I'm smoothing it out as much as possible as it's getting hot and white. Sometimes you find a few little holes in the color, and that's what I'm just filling up with the stringer right there just to make sure that it has a nice consistent thickness to it. So as you can see, I'm about halfway done smoothing out and melting this layer of color in, and then of course I'm going to also layer some clear glass on top of that, and well, that's a whole other stage in the process in itself. So I'm just now finishing off sort of the top of this piece of art for the first layer of color. Eventually I'm going to have to move into the bigger flame here to speed this process up, as I said earlier, because this gets quite painful on the wrist. Around and around and around it goes. Now I'm just finishing off the end, smoothing it out, so when I begin the layering of the next layer of clear, it's smooth and ready for a good layer to go down. All in all, I used two of these 5 foot stringers of 2 millimeter clear rods, which is quite a bit of glass to layer down on top of this. With a hotter torch, you could also use thicker stringers to lay the clear or the color down, which speeds the process up immensely as well. Because as opposed to layering down 20 or 30 strips as I go around this cylinder, you can lay down, 10 or 12 and have it done in half the time. But once again, for now, patience is a virtue, and layering down 20 or 30 strips of glass is great practice for future endeavors in this hobby. It's a lot of fun to do this, but it's not something that everybody can get into. Of course, it costs quite a bit of money. I just spent another few $100s on a large order of glass because I've almost ran out after 2.5 weeks from my last few $100 order. So hopefully within a few months and a few $100 to $1,000 more worth of glass, I'll be ready to start offering pieces to my viewers. That includes free giveaways. I'm not going to be giving away anything that I make in the next few months, as they just won't be good enough quality to be used for a long time or a long period, or I won't have a kiln. So in a few months we'll start to do that, but for now it's just all practice material. And as you can see, I'm now getting sort of close to the end of layering this clear glass over top of the blue. What that will do is once again thicken the glass quite a bit more so I can blow it out and give this piece of art much more shape to it. And it will also protect the color and give it a different sheen and shine through the clear, which magnifies the color a little bit. And I layered this piece of art with blue and dark blue coloring glass, or colored glass, which gives it a really, really interesting look when you hold it up to light. And when you look at it from afar, it looks like just a regular blue piece of art. So now I'm just going to be melting the clear in. This takes even more time than the blue because now the glass is even thicker, but it's well worth it when you're finished because a smooth product is always preferable to one that's not. A product that is not smooth is more likely to crack, as where you have indentations or glass meeting glass that's not completed melted in, you're going to be more likely to have a crack form at that point. So I'm just moving it around and ensuring that I get it white hot and then continuing to lightly puff into it to expand the inside of the glass into the outside of the art piece to make sure that I get it as smooth as possible. Melting the glass in and making it smooth is definitely the most time consuming portion of making this type of art with this torch, but the end product looks fantastic and works well as well. So just about done. What I'm doing here is just clearing off the end, pulling the excess glass off to ensure that I have a clean termination at the end of this piece. That is something that I haven't done in past pieces, and it's something that improves the overall strength and stability of the piece as it cools. And finally, I can now begin to shape this piece of art by twisting it around in the flame, puffing it out, and expanding sections of it where I want it to be, and allowing gravity and the heat of the and melted glass to draw it down and constrict where I want it to be thinner. This piece is going to resemble sort of a figure eight or an hourglass with a small piece at the top to hang it with, or whatever else you want to do with it. As you can, as you can see, heat is your best friend. You have to make sure that you keep the whole piece hot so you can avoid cracks, because another time that you're going to have cracks form in your piece is when you shock the glass with it with heat when it's too cool, and that will instantly crack the piece, which is never a good thing. Especially when you spend 45 minutes to an hour working on something, it's a real shame to have it crack on you after all that time. Many times you walk away frustrated from this hobby as you're learning, but that's all part of the patience is a virtue learning aspect of it. So now I'm just twisting it around. I'm allowing gravity to draw it down and form the shape of this piece. The other way to do it is to attach a punty to the other side and draw it out. Currently, I prefer to do it this method. I find it gives me a more natural look to the piece. However, in the future, I'll definitely play around with the other punty to give it different shapes, because this is going to provide me with a straight piece in a teardrop shape, whereas if I use punty, I can maneuver the glass in different ways. Now, after you've formed the piece how you want it, you're going to have to go back and make holes in it, or decorate it in any other way that you want to do. So now I'm just going to be heating one area of it to blow out a small hole to allow air to flow freely through this piece of art. And to strengthen the hole, I'm going to indent it slightly. This will increase the strength and allow it to sit flat on a table if that's what you want to do with this piece of art. Now, to once again ensure that this piece does not only have one area where you can have air flow through it, I'm going to put another hole in the side of this piece of art, so when it sits on the table it can still have a place for the air to flow freely through. And after I'm done that, I'm going to warm the whole piece up to ensure I don't crack it, and then I'm going to remove the blow tube from one end and the piece will be complete. So that took a total of about 45 minutes and it was great fun. Have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed the video.